Arrow Season 3, Episode 3, Corto Maltese. We finally got to see Thea in this one, and it was really cool to see her. We didn't get too much about what may or may not happen in the future. The one really big hint we got is that Malcolm Merlin will be seeing Thea again, and based on the preview, he's gonna be in Starling City in the next episode. So that's actually really cool. They aren't taking any breaks between her going back to Starling City and Malcolm doing whatever super secret evil guy thinks he's gonna be doing. He's pretty much gonna be there in the next episode, so we're gonna get to see that then. But in this one, we got to see, instead of flashbacks of Oliver and what he did in Hong Kong, we got to see flashbacks of Thea, of course, and that was the main focus of the episode. What she'd been through, what is she gonna do in this episode? Is she gonna go back to Starling? Is she gonna stay in Corto Maltese? And the flashbacks were really good. We got to see her train. I think my favorite one was when Malcolm Merlin kind of just flipped the script and it was like, okay, me doing like the hot wax on your hand isn't really working. So I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna teach you how I was taught. And he was like holding her arm or something like that. He was holding her hand because it wasn't working. And it's just like, I'm just gonna elbow you right in the face out of nowhere. And then he does that. Then he punches her and knocks her down. And it's like, all right, now we can get started. You put a sword on me. Now training can really begin. Great. But I did love it. I loved the connection they had in this episode, and I loved it was something they did in the last episode when she's practicing kendo and she beats the two people up, and she takes off her mask and she's gotten to the point where she's accepted Malcolm Merlin as her father. Like she says in the last episode, she's just like, he's like, you've really grown as far as your training, and she's like, thanks, Dad. And it was just really natural. It wasn't weird to her. She's had 6 months to adjust, and that's what she's done. She's comfortable calling him her dad, despite some of the craziness that has gone on. And of course, she doesn't know the even crazier craziness. But despite everything that's happened, she's gotten comfortable with that, and he is the family that she has, and she's connected with him. And I'm assuming she still doesn't know any of the really dark secrets and how he ended up training. She just assumes he was trained by like someone and they taught him how to fight really well. But she's learned a lot of good secrets, and she's gonna be a great fighter throughout the rest of the series, and I really hope they utilize that. I don't want them to show us all these amazing skills she has, like her learning how to maintain her control under something as serious as like hot wax being poured on you, or like really hot coffee at the end of this episode, and it was just like it was steaming, and she's just like, yep, I'm good, and she just wipes it off, which is really gonna get her busted because she's gonna do too many things that old Thea wouldn't have done. And Oliver, being current Oliver, he's gonna pick up on that stuff. Like, she's too much like me right now, and he's gonna pick that up in some future episodes. And he might just simply find out in the next episode, because I'm sure Malcolm will end up saying something like, "Yeah, I've been, she was gone and she was with me the whole time." So they probably won't have it where Oliver figures it out, which I would love to see it. I hope they do show it that way, where he actually finds out that Malcolm was doing it. Maybe in the next episode, Malcolm doesn't say anything, but it's like he's dealing with Malcolm, so that's on his head, in his mind all the time. And he sees Thea doing certain things like Thea would never have done that before, or something that should have hurt Thea, she just brushes it off like nothing. And he's able to put like his arrow life with his normal life, and those two heads come together, and it's like, crap, when she was gone for 6 months, it was because she was training with him, and that's why she wasn't coming back. It wasn't just, oh, I need my space. She was basically living with the other side of her family and training to be deadly, pretty much. But I really loved it. I thought it was a great main story. I was actually surprised that Thea did go back. I was kind of shocked by that, but she was ready to go back to her hometown. We'll get to see pretty much through the rest of the season now, we're going to get to see Thea really, I guess, readjust to her city, because she left when things were just at their worst point. She was almost killed, and then Malcolm came in and saved her. So she left at like the worst point in Starling City's history, really, outside of the season 1 finale, I guess. And now she's gonna come back to a time where the arrows kind of clean things up. Everything's kind of, it's not perfect, but it's much nicer than it was before. And of course, considering when she left, it'll basically be perfect compared to people with super strength just running all over the place, killing everybody. So it'll be cool to see her readjust to the city. And of course, they don't have any money, so once again, just like Oliver, where he has no money, he's kind of just living at his base. She's gonna have to find a place to stay permanently as well, and I don't know if it's really going to be at Verdant, because that's where they do their stuff. That's their hideout. So I'm excited to see how they sort of play that off and how they find a place for her to stay separate from Oliver, despite the fact that they don't really have money to like pay rent or anything like that. But I mean, she worked there the whole time and they kept it a secret. So they might be able to do the same thing, but it would be a lot tougher because there aren't just hundreds of people and a ton of loud music going off all the time. It's like Oliver, Thea, Felicity, Roy, and Diggle, and that's really it, just walking in and out, and Laurel as well. But I'm excited to see Thea back in the city, what she's going to be doing, and I really loved her in this episode. I want to, like I said, I really hope that they don't skip over the glimpses that we got where she was really cool in this episode. She was a real tough fighter, and she's been training for 6 months with Malcolm Merlin, so she has some skills, and I want to see them put to good use throughout this season. But the main story was really good. The two side stories we had, I actually really enjoyed. Diggle going and basically just doing busy work for his wife. He ends up finding a really serious complication in Argus, and it kind of leads to another plot that's really going to be Diggle focused, and that's kind of his thing. Like Argus and like the Suicide Squad, all that stuff is really focused on Diggle. So I enjoy that they kind of introduced how it's going to be important in this season, and then mostly revolves around some of the really secret things that Waller has people doing and some of the crazy crap that they go through. And the fact that in this episode, the guy basically he went dark because he wanted to get out of Argus. He wanted to fake his own death just to escape from Amanda Waller. So that's going to be in Diggle's mind, and if it involves his, ex-wife slash girlfriend slash baby mama, it's gonna affect him. It's gonna be something he worries about because he cares about her and his daughter. So it's gonna be cool to see them really touch on those points, and we might get a little bit of explanation through some of the flashbacks with Oliver, which I think would be very cool. I think we're gonna get answers that we weren't really expecting, or they might seem like they're nothing. It's just random Amanda Waller stuff. And then when they do the Diggle focus stories, we'll get to see like, oh, if you happen to remember the episode, she did this back then with Oliver, and that's kind of steamrolled into today. And so I think they'll do connections like that where certain stuff happens with Oliver, and that'll be the flashback of the episode, and then Diggle will have the main story, and it'll be like, oh, that's how that connects, or this is how Oliver may have stopped it or may have started it, and unknowingly or really having no choice, and then that's how it kind of keeps going into Diggle's storyline. But I love that storyline. I thought it was pretty cool. We got to see Oliver do like makeshift bows out of his bedroom. He like took springs off and stuff. I thought that was actually pretty cool. And we got to see a nice little fight. The guys were just beating up a bunch of random people. So that was pretty interesting. And then we had our other side story where Laurel's continuing down this path where she wants to do good. She wants to do what Sarah did, and she's just moving closer and closer to being the new Black Canary. And in this episode, she goes after a guy, and she just gets beat up. Like, she tries to take him out with a bat, and she gets a couple hits, and pretty much like any series ever, when that happens, the person always gets beat up in the very first mission that they go on. It's like, I'm gonna be a vigilante. I'm gonna take this guy out and be like, hey, don't beat up women when you get drunk, and don't be a drunkard. And they always get beat up. That's how pretty much every series ever goes. It's like they want to be the hero, they get whooped, and then they go to someone else and they train them, and that's how they become that hero. So she gets beat up, and she goes to the guy at the end of the episode who she kind of went to in the beginning, and she goes to him, and she's going to be training with this guy. And she went to Oliver, and he didn't want to do it, so she's of course going to be hiding this. And at some point, once again, one of the obvious things for television, it's going to be found out. He's going to be upset, her father's going to be upset, and pretty much everyone else is probably going to worry about her as well, because they know she's angry. But it's like, you can't just jump into this. Like, Felicity doing that same type of thing would be it's just everyone has their set points, and it's dangerous if you try to step outside of that. If you're not the insane fighter of the group, it's dangerous for you to go out and do that, which they really showed in this episode, because that guy could have easily done way worse to her. Instead of like punching her twice and then kicking her, he could have done so much worse. He could have honestly just killed her. He could have backed his car up and killed her and just took off like that. If he wanted to, he could have easily done that. But Fortunately, that does not happen, and she's gonna be training, and I can't wait to see her be cool like Thea right now. So everyone's kind of just going up and up in the different ranks, and things are getting really exciting for this season. We got a lot of cool plot points in this episode. Thea coming back into the city. The preview showed that Malcolm's going to be back in the very end of the episode. I can't think of her name. She's like a brand new character in the entire DC universe anyway, but um, Ra's al Ghul's second daughter, who's not Talia, of course, she came back looking for Sarah, so I'm excited for them to utilize her again in next week's episode, and all the craziness is going to go down with her wanting to go after Malcolm, and whether or not he's even the one that actually did it. And I don't think that really has anything to do with, them wanting to kill her or kill him, because he's done a million other things outside of possibly being Sarah's killer. So even if it's not him, which it probably isn't, they're probably going to keep that mystery going. I'm pretty sure they're gonna just want to go after him because he's Malcolm Merlin. He should be dead and probably deserves it like 5 times over. But I enjoyed this episode. I'm really excited for next week's. Another tiny little plot point. It was something that we got at the end as well. Ray Palmer finally got the info on that disc, and it was actually weapons, like huge weapons, like tanks and stuff. So they're gonna talk about that for sure. It was just yet another plot point they just introduced, but overall, I thought this was a great episode. I think it was my favorite one so far, actually. Everything that happened just seemed really cool. A lot of great plot points introduced. A lot of things that you can tell, like the Argus stuff, is gonna, come back into the series down the line. So I'm excited for everything that was introduced, and just getting to see Thea and some of the craziness that went on with Laurel was really good too. But comment below, let me know what you guys thought about this one. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and with next week's episode being about Malcolm Merlin coming back into the city, and them talking a lot about the League of Shadows, especially with Ra's al Ghul being in this season. What do you guys want to see from next week's episode? Because I feel like they show like in the preview that I think there's like a tiny glimpse of some clothes that Ra's al Ghul was wearing, but I doubt he'll be in the episode. I'd love it if they introduced him, even if he wasn't in Starling City and it was just he sent his daughter there. But that's what I want to see. I want to see something about Ra's al Ghul, maybe even some more information on the League of Shadows, because I'm not 100% familiar with them. I only know the little bits and pieces that honestly I got from Batman, because that's really where I know him from. So that's what I want to see in the next episode. But what do you guys want to see? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.